Hey Sugar Snaps, welcome to the Textile Indie YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Brittany and we are doing a Vlogmas series right now. Today we're going to have Sherry come and join us and show us how to make a gingerbread house garland out of cardboard and puff paint. Today's project is really easy and it's almost free. The only thing that you'll probably have to buy are the puff paints. Brittany happened to have a stack of these pieces of cardboard cardstock in her stash that we used, some copy paper, and a pair of scissors, and that's all you need. Now, let me back up and say that when you look on the internet, you'll usually see this project done with these chalk paints or white paint pens, and I gave that a shot. I did not like how it was turning out. It's very one-dimensional, two-dimensional, very flat looking, and these are tricky, and they're also expensive. So I quickly set them aside and decided to go with the puff paint, and I really like how they turn out. They're dimensional. They look more like an actual gingerbread house. They give it some texture, and I liked the look much better than the paint pen. So that was my first choice. I decided to go with the puff paint. The second thing I'll say ahead of time is that do not be alarmed by your first one. They look a little sad on their own. I made the first one, I was like, But then once I made the second and then the third and I lined them up next to each other, they look better and better the more you make. So there's something about them being en masse that makes them look absolutely darling. When you're done with these, we're not going to do it in today's video, but you'll string them together as a garland. You can do it with some of the baker's twine that's really popular right now, like the red and white striped twine. You can use ribbon. Whatever the motif is for your holiday decor, you can mix and match to make this fit in with whatever you're doing. And of course, depending on where you want to hang them, you will make more or less of these little houses. I'm working on a garland to go all the way across a pretty long wall, so I'm going to make quite a few of them. And again, the more you make, I think the better they look. So to get started, I suggest that you go to Pinterest and in the search box, you just type in cardboard gingerbread garland. And that is going to pull up all kinds of examples. And you have everything from just go on Etsy and buy these garlands completely finished. That's probably not our audience. Or you can make them very elaborate and actually turn them into cardboard houses. But we're going to stick with the flat ones. And I didn't buy a pattern. I just ended up doing this all freehand. And I am not quite the artist Brittany is, so if I can do it, pretty much anybody I think could do this. So I just started by folding copy paper. And for instance, I'll give you some examples. I folded the first piece in half. I cut it in half, and I ended up with this house, which is kind of an apartment building size. And this one, thank you. And I just made that one. I'll just give you a quick demonstration. I cut it in half, and then I met the ends up as if you were going to fold a paper airplane. Is pretty even. I mean, it's not a science. You don't have to be perfect about it. Cut those off, and voila, I ended up with this shape. So see how easy that is? Now I would definitely hang on to these little triangles because once you have a few triangles of different sizes, you'll be able to mix and match them potentially for your roof line on some of your other houses. So hang on to those until you know. So I continued to do that, just cutting them. So I would fold this in half and cut it in half, and I end up with, say, a house this size and a house this size by doing the same thing, just folding the points down. Then I got really fancy, and I just freehanded a little curve to make this cute roof. I saw one this shape online. I did another type of roof. I think you call this a mansard roof, to give it each one a little bit different character. Cut out a few little rectangles of different widths and sizes. You only need a few of these because, again, when you do your patterns on cardboard, you can mix and match and make them look the way you want them to. So the apartment building houses, you can actually add a roof to when you make them up. So whatever it looks like. And again, you will find all kinds of examples from simple to elaborate, and you can make your houses the shape that you like. So the point of the paper is to draw out the different shapes, and then my understanding is that you use these as your stencil on your cardstock or your cardboard, right? So then you can mix and match. Once you have all of these stencils lined up, then you can mix and match and play with the designs. And you can test out designs like Sherry's done here on your paper so you can see how they're laid out, and then either transfer it to your cardboard or just freehand it again onto your cardboard pieces. Right. So again, I just looked to see what was online from a couple of different designers, and I mixed and matched the shapes that I felt like I was capable of drawing.
I have almost zero drawing skills. I really do. So I think anyone can do this. It's just like a real gingerbread house. They are not perfect. They're not necessarily perfectly symmetrical. Your lines don't have to be straight or exactly the same on both sides. It's just a very forgiving craft. So then I transferred these onto the cardboard. I cut my cardboard out. Again, this is like maybe like shirt cardboard that you would buy a men's shirt and they have this slipped inside. It's not super thick. You could use all kinds. It's a pretty wide range of what you could get away with. If all you have is corrugated cardboard, you could use that.
I've seen some really cute ones that are corrugated. And actually, the thicker the cardboard is, the more sturdy your garland will be. It's a little bit flimsy, and so the roof, like this one here, the roof is curling a little bit just because the weight of the puff paint to the weight of the cardstock is kind of pulling it in. But it'll still work just fine. So if you have a thicker cardboard, go for it. I would say the one drawback is you do have to cut a lot of these out to make a garland. So that can start to be straining on your hand if you're using really, really thick cardboard.
Yeah. And a tip, if you're going to use corrugated, watch the direction that the little channels go inside, because if they're going horizontal to your pattern, you'll be able to use a darning needle and thread it straight through. And that's going to make that part, the threading, much easier. With these, you're going to want to punch some sort of hole and then sew your garland in and out. So either way, I'd say this is a recycle craft. So whatever you have on hand, that is fabulous. So once I found some designs that I liked and I transferred them onto my master patterns, I actually just eyeballed it. I didn't even draw them on. And I just want to reiterate, I am not an artist. So I just took my puff paint and I just used my eye and went for it. And I think they turned out great. I mean, could they be more perfect? Yes, they could, but it's not that kind of craft.
Yep.
So this is really easy. Again, I think this is a fun thing that you could do with an elementary aged up child if you have someone in your life to do this project with. One tip that I learned after the fact, whatever you're doing, start by making an outline around the shape of your building, right on the edge, as you can see. I didn't do these at first, and so if you go back, some of your other lines might get in the way. But it just creates a foundation, and everything is going to look much, much better if you just start with that outline around the edge. And if you have the foresight, I would even do that the night before and let it dry.
That's smart.
That way you're not going to be dragging into your paint, and you're going to end up with a much cleaner finished product.
I think you had one note on these guys.
Yeah. To bring them over here, they were dry, but I stacked them and they've been sitting for a few days in an envelope. And when we pulled them out, they were stuck together. And when we peeled them gently apart, they did come apart, but they left a little bit of the cardboard fuzz. So if you're going to stack them or store them for the next year, I would put probably some wax paper between them.
Yeah.
That should solve the problem. Even if it does stick and the wax paper sticks a little, it's going to show up as white. And so you won't have this, this is pretty much ruined. I guess I could go over it a little bit with some of the...
It just looks dirty because the cardboard stuck to it.
Yeah, some of the puff paint. And that's a good point. Of course, you don't have to use white puff paint. White puff paint fits the motif of my decorating, so I'm going to go with all white and brown in a traditional gingerbread. But gingerbread houses, of course, are often crazy and multicolored, so you could have a lot of fun with using colors if that fits the style of your Christmas decor better.
Yeah. There's also the metallic puff paint, so gold or silver, and all the colors.
I like to think of these as very Dr. Seuss-ish.
Seuss-ish.
Which makes the kind of craziness okay and takes down the expectation a little bit. Because when you do put them together, that is what it reminds me of, a Dr. Seuss book or the Grinch Stole Christmas kind of a look.
Yeah, very cute.
Well, after working on a few more of these, I did discover that with the puff paint, you do want to keep your designs a little more simple than you could probably get away with if you were using a paint pen or a chalk pen, particularly if you have some skill with lettering, or maybe you've been a barista for a long time and you've done plenty of chalkboard art in your past. So you'll have to use what you're familiar with. My drawn design was definitely not going to fit on my cardboard design with the puff paint, just because it's much more intricate. And then when I looked at, I don't know if I'm going to get those wreath and bows out of this clunky little bottle, so I just left them off. But I think overall this turned out really cute. And again, the more you line up, the cuter they get.
I tried the silver puff paint just because I wanted to see how a color might look or the metallic might look on the cardstock. And I think if I was to do this again, I would use either a white black background, have the house be made out of white cardboard, and then do colorful puff paint, or do an actual color like red, white, and green. If you're doing traditional Christmas colors, or a pastel kind of palette if you're kind of going with the pastel Christmas decorations, or more of a winter palette. I think the white on the brown cardboard is just really classic and it looks very clean, and the silver just blends in with the cardboard, and the gold is almost the same hue, so from a distance you wouldn't see it anyway.
Right.
So just something to consider. The hue of your paint needs to pop out from the background.
Mm-hmm. Some years I do a turquoise themed Christmas tree, and I think these would look really cute in a brighter blue or turquoise, because again, you just need some contrast.
Yeah, and they'd be really fun if you had like a glitter puff paint.
Yes.
Not glitter, not suggesting you use glitter because that's gonna make a mess, but glitter puff paint is the perfect middle ground.
You just gave me another idea. You could do this same thing but make them look more fall haunted housey, and get the glow in the dark puff paint.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That would be really fun too.
That'd be fun. Now we're gonna let these dry and then attach them together, and hope that you have fun making your own gingerbread house garlands. Until next time, happy making. Bye.
Bye.